Hello, my name is Susan Blake, and today I will be presenting for our class on multicultural and diverse materials the topic of diversity in school libraries' collections of young adult genre fiction. The main objectives of this presentation include how to create diverse young adult collections of genre fiction. For example, genres of dystopian fiction and science fiction, which are incredibly popular with young adult readers. Today, I will be presenting for our class on multicultural and diverse materials the topic to advise both teachers and diversity in school libraries collections of young adult genre fiction on what materials are problematic and which ones are best suited for young adult readership. Presentation include new genres for young adult readers are popping up young adult speculative collections of genre fiction, which are used as venues for minority authors to discuss oppression, racism, and corrupt political and societal systems. It can be often difficult for librarians to keep up with these new genres and new authors and what older work should be either weeded out or labeled as problematic. The first learning objective is that librarians will learn from this presentation on how to audit successfully young adult genre collections by weeding out problematic works or labeling them and discussing with teachers on how to present them to students as inauthentic portrayals of a minority group and instead include contemporary works by diverse authors who write about groups in an authentic way and are writing in newer popular genres. Secondly, school librarians will learn to be aware of gender stereotypes to be avoided when advising students and teachers about genre fiction selections, and to avoid using gender tags and labels for genre fiction in catalog displays. Thirdly, librarians will learn how to discuss with teachers how genre fiction can be used in their curriculum as a lens for difficult but relevant and important topics to discuss in the classroom, such as critical race theory, sexual orientation, socioeconomic disparities, and how students' unique backgrounds can often be mirrored in genre fiction. To start, let us look to the pie graph depicting 2019 demographics in young adult fiction. In one, it depicts authors' ethnicities. The second one depicts the ethnicities of the protagonists. Overall, white authors and protagonists far outnumbered the minority authors and protagonists. On the other end of the spectrum, indigenous authors and protagonists are almost non-existent. This is unacceptable. Librarians must amp their work to find diverse genre works to include in their collections. A problematic issue is that often reviewers ignore works by diverse authors. So librarians must depend on resources such as the American Library Association's website that includes lists of popular and diverse works of fiction published each year to guide them. Let us look at some problematic portrayals of diverse groups to watch out for when conducting diversity audits. Some that specifically occur in older traditional genre works, such as science fiction and fantasy books, are portrayals of dark-skinned characters as villainous, alien, and overall other, even monstrous. A very problematic portrayal in science fiction is young Black women being portrayed as others who need to be conquered and alien, who are alien and monstrous, and they often receive violent treatment and deadly ends. This is not what young girls of color should be reading in schools. Instead, these collections should include genre fiction such as speculative urban fantasy, which provides young girls of color protagonists with dark skin who are portrayed authentically and have agency over their own lives that they use to fight injustice and in the end find happiness. All minorities should be represented this way, in genre fiction all groups of students, and librarians must use whatever sources they can to find them. A second problem area for genre fiction and young adult library collections is genres based on gendering, which are often based on older societal gender stereotypes. For example, historical romance novels typically are stereotyped as chick lit for white science for girls, while science fiction is considered appropriate for boys' interest. To avoid this, collections should avoid tags, labels, and displays that include gender as a criteria. Overall, I will say gender is not something that should be used to recommend one genre over another for students. I believe gender is not black and white, and each student should be treated as an individual with sensitivity and respect when being advised on genre fiction that might be of interest to them. A third topic I would like to discuss about genre fiction is how contemporary genre fiction, such as speculative fiction, is often authored and illustrated by those who identify as a minority, be it based on their race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, or gender. These works offer unique lenses to discuss difficult topics such as critical race theory, marginalization, sexism, homophobia, classism, just to name a few. One such genre is Gothic fiction. Gothic fiction is an older genre fiction that often includes elements of romance, science fiction, and the paranormal. Often genre fiction is hybrids of many different genres, so that is something also to look out for. Gothic fiction often features a protagonist who is marginalized for being different in some way, often for their race, their gender, sexual orientation, sometimes for not even being human. But in the end, they overcome the odds to seek justice and find agency in their own lives, and some do have happy endings. Newer genre fiction to look out for and to use for unique lenses in the classroom for difficult topics, I believe, is speculative fiction and urban fantasy that are often used as venues by minority authors to discuss young adults who rebel against unjust systems that oppress minority groups the protagonists belong in. Many students will find their own backgrounds and situations mirrored in these types of works and can be an important tool for discussing these difficult issues and for making them feel represented in the classroom. They provide context for teachers to think about diversity dynamics in their own teaching methods, curriculum, and how they even just treat students in the classroom. My closing remarks about diversity in school young adult genre collections is that genre fiction is becoming increasingly popular with young adult students and in libraries. And new genres keep popping up, and more authors keep popping up, and librarians must make sure they do everything they can to make sure their collections are authentic, diverse, and mirror all students' backgrounds, races, and situations. If librarians need recommendations for diverse genre titles to include in their library's collections, the American Library Association has generated helpful lists that include a variety of contemporary diverse works to choose from among young adult genre fiction that came out the year they were published. So you can keep up with contemporary works from diverse authors about diverse topics. For example, I would recommend from their list in 2019 the highly popular diverse fantasy novel, The Children of Blood and Bones, by the Nigerian author Tomi Adeyemi, and features authentically elements from West African culture in a fantasy setting and discusses issues of feminism and racism in this fantasy setting, which I think is a great way to discuss critical race theory and gender in the classroom. Well, I appreciate you listening to this presentation and have a good day.